Seán E. Rachel.
Eric E. No,
Yeah,
not going with Eric E.
that's
That's
it,
it.
no,
That was banned.
that's never
That doesn't
gonna
work.
do it again.
That's gone out the window. Doesn't work.
I'm in good form today
How so?
because today is the start of my holidays. I'm trading in the running shoes for the skiing boots. I'm going to be traveling at 40 kilometers an hour and barely moving. I can't wait.
Only 40.
Yeah, look, I'm soft, Rachel. I'm soft. Okay.
Hang on. I heard about this people going downhill at 40, 50 kilometers. I checked my Garmin after I did it on a bike and it was 30 and I was hovering over the brakes like, no. And I think I'd be a little bit more secure on a bike than I would be on skis. I've never done skiing before. So
2 years ago, I went out and I put the watch. I tried to set a max speed. I picked a nice slope that was quite steep, but then had a nice runoff at the end to see my max speed. I think I only got into the 70s. One of my brothers, I think, hit the 90s.
I put the brakes on my car when I hit into the 70s. Like, how? What's that feel like?
So, Seán, there's certain element of disgusting people in the world, and Rachel is one of them. But I'm going with Rachel's family. This is the great thing. Rachel can't go, so I'm replaced Rachel. It's fantastic. And they've already said I'm better. But they're all really good at skiing. They're all really, really good at skiing. So I've only been skiing twice, but I've been hyping it up now that I'm actually class when in actual fact I'm not. But yeah, I'm really, really, really looking forward to it. It's going to be good. Shoop, all the way down the hill. It's going to be amazing. So yeah, holidays have started today. We fly out tomorrow, and then. But the beauty is, and I didn't plan this, but the place we're staying has a gym with treadmills, bikes, weights room, saunas. I'm actually going on a training camp for a week. An outdoor pool. I could probably get, I'm bringing the goggles and everything. I could probably get a couple of training sessions in.
I used to.
It's brilliant.
I used to. Okay. Well, we'll now go on a ski advice holiday. If you want a great holiday, go to La Plange. That's where you're heading, Eric. I don't even know if you know that, but you're going to La Plange. It's my favorite by far.
Yeah, everyone's like, where are you going? I was like, somewhere in France. I don't even know where I'm flying into. I am going to the airport tomorrow. Just guided towards. I don't even know if I'm Terminal 1, Terminal 2. I'll just arrive. I'll be chaperoned towards a desk. I'll check in
Manny
my bag.
Smith will look after you.
Yeah, and I'll arrive somewhere in France. And
a lot of people,
I know I'm on a bus.
A lot of people are feeling pretty jealous now. You're going out, you're doing all these activities, you're going there skiing and like class, unreal holiday for the next 2 weeks. Just to make people feel just a little bit better about themselves before we get into the training talk. All these cool things you're doing, you're training, you're skiing, you're drinking, having a good time and all the rest. Rachel, what are you doing for the next 2 weeks?
Well, I have finally got myself the green light to get into Perth. But anyone who has listened to Australian news knows that Perth is harder to get into than the moon at this stage. So I'm arriving in tomorrow and then I have to home quarantine for 2 weeks.
Talk about polar opposites for the next 2 weeks between you guys. No, we'll get
Eric's gone away with my family to my favorite ski resort.
And you're locked in a room.
Going to a house. To be locked in a room. I know. Be loud.
And on that bombshell,
the big man lands his feet. Intro music. Let's go.
Eric's travels got us thinking about destination races, destination marathons, triathlons, whatever it is. Destination races are becoming so popular. Have you ever gone abroad to a race?
Not yet.
We tried. The actual foundation of this podcast was because we tried to do a race abroad. And the last time we did that, there was a global pandemic. So we said, me and Seán won't plan any races abroad again, just in case.
Thanks for your consideration.
Yeah, it's for the rest of the world, actually. We decided not to do any more races abroad.
I did put myself in for the London Marathon this year, the lottery. Now, it's like a 1 in 10 chance, so I do not expect to get it. Like, I did the same thing for Berlin. I was looking in Chicago and stuff. But the actual Speaking of marathons over, like especially the States, it's like $300-400 just for a ticket. Like it's hard enough getting in, but when you get in, it's $300-400. So when you look at all these packages, it's like, you know, $1,000 for a 3 night stay. And you're like, that's not too bad. And it's like at the bottom, excluding your marathon ticket that you have reserved for you, which is an extra $300-400. So I mean, you're looking at $1,500 before anything else. It's mad money. So like if you're planning out your year, it's literally that race. And you're probably done in terms of budget. Depends on how much budget you have for races in a year.
Yeah, I kind of got a bit of a fright this year in Ireland. A lot of the races, and I probably will start naming and shaming, but a lot of them have gone up by 30 or 40 euro. I know they've missed out on a couple of years there with pandemics and stuff, but it's actually got to a point now where I will probably not do certain races just because they've gone up by 20 or 30 euros, and I can't justify it. As much as I love the day out, it's kind of hard. But like that, Sean, like $400 I'd be thinking about. I'm like, whew, that's a lot of money for suffering.
Yeah.
You know, like I do.
You want to be bucket list races.
Yeah, they want to be very, very, very much bucket list races. But it is, I think, you know, value for money, like, no matter what we do, everyone needs to feel like they're getting value for money. I know some people will put their money towards something because it is a goal. It's the bucket list. But like when you're just going to do a 5K or a 10K and or whatever it may be, and instead of being the 50 euro, 60 euro, 40 euro, you know, the usual, you wouldn't see it go kind of thing. It's a nice day out. Some longer races are going up into the 90s, the 120s, the 130s. It's like, whoa, where's this coming from? So yeah, it's a little bit disheartening. I was kind of really looking forward to a lot of races, but I'd have to just pick and choose now for the year.
I suppose we'll look at why there is a charge for races, first of all, because, you know, fairness to anyone who's ever organized a race, you know, it doesn't happen overnight. So there are expenses that the organizing bodies have. So you can, you know, no one is ever going to complain about having to pay to enter a race because, you know, they have to get permits, road closures, whether there's prize money, maybe there's refreshments after, you know, there is a lot of expenses that go into it. But like you said, Eric, it's kind of value for money. At what point have you covered your part of the expenses and now you're just paying extra because maybe they were down last year or something?
Yeah, and it's hard to know. And look, maybe I'm being harsh on people, but I have noticed a very distinct hike, and I'm just like, whoa. You know, like it is a little bit, and knowing what you get for certain races, I'm kind of like, what am I paying for? You know, so it is different. And I suppose if people haven't done them before, they don't know any different, and maybe it'll just become the new standard. But yeah, it's unfortunate to kind of, usually I used to just like, I'll do whatever race, because usually you're helping a triathlon club, and you can appreciate when you're paying for a race organized by a triathlon club, you're like, well, look, that club's going to benefit from it. So you can kind of appreciate it from that sense. So it's, but yeah, it's very different. But yeah, I think even the marathon, I was pleasantly surprised, didn't really go up in price too much. I think it's stuck at its 90 euros ish, thereabouts, the Dublin Marathon, which I got. So that's already been paying for.
We're lucky. That's a non-profit, I think, the Dublin Marathon. And that's why it's so much cheaper compared to the other marathons. Am I right in saying that? I think they did say something like that, because there was a couple of complaints online that it actually did go up, and they're like, actually, no, there's no money being made from that. As far as I know, I could be totally wrong on that. That's one of those things I had to check when we stop recording the podcast. But I don't think that's why it is a lot cheaper than some of the other races in the world, like your Bostons and all the rest. Not that Dublin's in the same level of Boston in terms of, you know, major six or anything like that. And
you're dead right. It's better.
Hopefully one day I get to Boston. I agree with you on that one. But you the same situation, Eric, with your big race coming up in August.
Yeah, I said I'd do an Ironman before I was 30, and that's this year. But the brand Ironman is very good. It is a very good brand. So my goal has changed to do a full distance triathlon by the time I'm 30. The reason being, the one in Cork costs about 650 euros just to enter.
That's a lot of money. You're doing other events as well. Like that is.
Yeah. So
expensive.
I had to make a decision. I could either do 5 or 6 events with my friends, that would tot up to the same value, including and then do a similar full distance triathlon, or I could just not do any of the races and just do the Ironman. And because I couldn't justify paying nearly 1,200 in race fees this year. If I want to do 6 events plus that, it's going to be about 1,200 on average. So I decided to change it up a little bit and find an alternative, and that is the Hardman Killarney. So it is a full distance triathlon, a 3.8k swim. You have to cycle the Ring of Kerry, which is 176.7 kilometers, so nearly to 180, and then you run a marathon to finish. So I'm going to get all the suffering in probably one of the most scenic parts of the country, and I'll have paid a third of the price. So I think Hardman Killarney is €220 to enter. So for me, I get to achieve the goal. The Ring of Kerry is beautiful. So family and friends who are coming along get to drive the Ring of Kerry and be 2 stops ahead of me every time, and hopefully get a nice day out in Killarney. So scenery, everything else, I was like, this is a no-brainer for me. You know, and if I fail, and this is the thing about failure, obviously there are always lessons, but I would rather have failed on an event I paid €220 to than an event I paid 650 to. And yeah, so especially even Cork, like people pay the money and the swim could be cancelled. It's cancelled a few times. So,
last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, so like you pay all that money and then you can't officially say you've done a full distance triathlon. You've just gone for a cycle and a run. So it's yeah,
that's bananas.
It's a hard one
that
to
price,
do.
and not even say did an Ironman, because it is for the name. It is to say you did an Ironman, and you're paying an extra 400 quid for that name, even though you did the distance. You practically did an Ironman without name value behind it. That's all. The suffering is the same, I'd imagine.
And the which?
The suffering is the same, I'd imagine, on both.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know if anyone's done the Ring of Kerry, but it's not exactly an easy cycle. So
I wouldn't say it's an easy drive.
I did compare the two. So over the course of the full distance cycle, the elevation climb between Ironman Cork and Ironman Kerry or Hardman Killarney is it's pretty much the same. Thereabouts, but maybe 100 meters in the difference, but you're over 1,400-ish. I don't remember the exact. I know it's over 1.4 climb for the whole cycle, which is a nice decent bit of climbing. So yeah, and 100. The cycle's supposed to be 180k, so 176 point something. I could sleep easily knowing there's 3k lost somewhere. It doesn't bother me. I think, especially from Ireland, Ring of Kerry is kind of renowned, and anyone who says they've been around the Ring of Kerry on a bike, you're kind of like, wow, that's impressive. Right. So for me, that's a little ego thing, rather than cycling around Cork. So it's
but then like I suppose we did say at the start, use the term like destination marathon or destination event. And like, if you're going to a summer destination, you have to factor in, it's not just the event cost, like it's the hotel cost and everything. You're probably getting a full, I don't know, maybe weekend down in Killarney for cheaper than what you'd pay just for your entry to Cork. So you do have to factor that in, because, people do want to complete these events, but financially it's just not feasible for some people. And like, that's why it's great to see the alternatives like the Hardman.
Yeah, and like when you go to events, and you're dead right, Rachael, events like that, you can't just go for the one night. You have to go down the day before early, maybe 2 days before, get settled in. All the gels, equipment, everything you're going to purchase in the build up to it that you're going to discover from yourself. So bike fittings, which I've got done, new saddle, because I need that extra bit of comfort in a saddle that fits me, so there's already been a large expense to take on something of this kind of scale. So yeah, like you could end up spending nearly €1,000 just for being at the event in Cork. Whereas we'll get a whole weekend, maybe 4 or 5 days in Killarney for the same price, with some change with it, nice dinners included, so it is, yeah. And I always wanted to do Ironman Barcelona, but it's going to be the same price for the event. Then your flights, bike boxes, shipping, nights accommodation, everything included out there. So it is an expensive adventure. So, but again, it is such an amazing brand. We're still talking about it. People are getting it tattooed on their calves. I don't know why. But yeah, for me, I'm not that egotistical to be like, I need to do Ironman. I just need to do a full distance once before I'm 30 and then see if I ever do it again. But yeah, so it is good. It's something to think about. Definitely look for an alternative, because there are alternatives out there.
I know budget and stuff's come into it, but even with that and everything else, that means you could probably get 2 or 3 triathlons in the lead up to it as well. And like, people are probably thinking, geez, it's February, Seán. You know, we're talking all about August, but I think now is the time where you need to, like, not just budget, but just in terms of your goals throughout the year, start planning the rest of the year. So I'm assuming you probably have in the back of your mind, okay, there's 1 or 2 triathlons or warm-up races to build up towards it, or training plans, and when you're going to start building between now and the end of August.
Yeah, so it's and again, like, if you factor them into the price, I can get another 4 or 5 training races for the same price as doing an Ironman on top of the event. So there is a couple of middle distance triathlons, or as the brand has taken over, half Ironmans, 70.3. So there's a couple of them, Loch Ultra out in Galway we might do. That's the end of May. And then that'll be a middle distance. And then I have the Olympic then the week later in Athy. I have that carried over from last year. So that'll be two weekends of decent, scaling down races. So from a middle distance into an Olympic. And I'll kind of phase that in with a kind of the end of phase 2, kind of the endurance build, and just see where I am. I think mentally for a lot of people, before you take on a big race like a marathon, you kind of nearly want to mentally have ran the marathon so you know you can do it. So I think getting 2 races like that in 2 weekends, tests recovery, testability tests, in different environments, one being a lake, one being a river. So yeah, there's a lot more of those little triathlons that will be taken on over the summer now, because I can is one thing, but it's just great to be swimming in the water with 100 other swimmers, getting used to that feeling. I don't want that to be on the day in Killarney, especially someone not as confident in the water. So yeah, it makes a big difference. And for me then, I pick triathlons around triathlon clubs I know run a nice event, and not necessarily great medals and all that kind of stuff, but they're reasonably priced. The club benefits from it, which is great for the community that it's in. And you get usually a nice day out, because you can show up in the morning, minimum planning, do your race, and by that evening you're home as if nothing's happened. So it is great days out. And on a couple of races I've done in the past, I have met people training for Ironmans who are just there for the day, it's a training session essentially. They just paid for a group training session. So yeah, it is something to consider, especially if you are planning, as Rachael's saying, destination races. Value plus the reward, I suppose, for it as well.
Speaking of destination races, I suppose for us, you mentioned Maria Carey and stuff like that. We've got a few different areas here. Rachael, you're all the way across the world at the moment, so you must have a few different destination races you have that you couldn't have done this time last year, coming up in the next couple of months. No?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, even just the races I did, like the 2XU triathlon series. 2XU is a well-known brand worldwide, but this triathlon series just takes place in Melbourne. And, it's all over their social media. So you have to be in Melbourne in order to participate in it. So that's obviously something I couldn't have done last year. Like I said, making the move to the West Coast tomorrow. So there's lots of races over there. There's actually, again, sticking with Ironman, that brand, there are some of the most fabulous Ironman and 70.3s are over in WA. You just get crystal clear water. And like, for me, I've picked the destination. I want to do the race in this town in Busselton. You should look up Ironman Busselton. And I think there are alternatives. Again, like you said, I think there are alternatives. Maybe not quite the half distance, I think just short, but there are other ones in that region. But for me, I've said, and it mightn't be this year, I just don't know if I'd get up to 70.3 by the end of the year. It's kind of penciled in, these training plans that we write in pencil so that we can change as needed. So for me, I kind of picked that one because I've cycled past there before. I know it's beautiful. I know the water is crystal clear. It's not too hilly because me and hills have just had a falling out this year. Don't know if we're going to get back on good terms. Check back in a few months. And so like that's another option as well, to pick the destination, because, you know, with summer holidays as well, marathons in particular can force you to go to a city you've never been to. So why not turn it into a destination, like a holiday? Take the week or whatever it is if you want to see a particular city. If you are traveling for a marathon, obviously you just have to pack your runners, your marathon gear. If you are going for triathlon, you do need the bike box, but most airlines accept the bike boxes instead of your normal luggage.
Oh,
yeah. And that's something a lot of people don't realize. So if you have your bike box, once it's within the weight, you can just bring that instead of your luggage, and there's no extra charge. You just have to put it in a separate carousel to go into the airplane. But yeah, a lot of people don't realize that with the bike, obviously the expense of buying the bike box and everything, but you just check on your bag and just bring the bike box instead, pack it with your clothes and everything.
And what ballpark figure are you talking about bike boxes? Only when you say now, I'm like, yeah, these bikes these days, especially ones you guys are using for Ironmans, they're probably lighter than your luggage bag anyway. So it makes sense that way. I know it's a bit of space, but still.
I have 2 packed now to come tomorrow. And they're both within the weight. And there's no extra charge. You just pop that on instead. Now, because I've traveled with a few different airlines where I brought the bike box now. And same thing, you call them up just to make sure it's okay to bring it. And they say, oh yeah, it's just bring it instead of your luggage. You can still add on extra luggage if you need it.
That I did not know.
There is a company in Ireland, especially for those here who are thinking of going abroad for any races involving their bike. I'll clarify the name maybe for you, Seán, for the show notes. I think it's called Ship My Bike or something. But you basically just give them your bike and they put it to your destination, so you can kind of relieve that hassle. I know a lot of guys, they kind of just get a pain of dismantling and putting back together their bike and shipping it, and so they actually just give it to someone and their bike arrives on the other side. And they just arrive to the plane. So there is a couple of options. Obviously, everything has a cost associated with it. So Rachael's way, you can definitely save a few pounds. But the other way, if you're that way inclined, I'm not sure the price is anywhere from $150 to $250. Again, a bit of Googling should probably find you the answers there. But I have heard of it, but never investigated it fully for myself.
Because then you don't have the hassle of dismantling the bike. I do know that Wheelworks in Liffey Valley, they hire out the bike boxes, because I bought mine off them, and could have hired it, only wasn't exactly returning, couldn't exactly give it back to them, so I bought it instead. But they do hire them out, and some places charge a small fee. So if you have your own bike box, they'll just charge a small fee just to dismantle it for you. Yeah, we will do a video on how to pack a bike box later on in the week. So if you're interested, or if it's something that maybe you considered, take a look on Instagram. We will have that up, because it's not actually too bad. Like, if I can manage it, everyone can.
I don't think you give yourself enough credit there, Rachael. But yeah. So, Seán, we've talked a lot about bikes and dismantlings and long distance. So what's your destination this year now?
My destination is still Dublin. I just, when you're talking about swimming and stuff, I got a real good compliment this week. I thought it was a compliment that my swimming instructor told me that I was swimming like I was in the Olympics. And I was like, brilliant. She's like, no, you're not relaxed. Relax in the water. So I was like, how are you relax in the water when you're gulping water into you? So that my goal is to swim. You have your 3.8K to do in the Kerry. My goal is to swim a length before my 34th birthday, which is in the middle of March. But to answer your question, I'm still hell-bent on the 4:48 challenge. Goggins did a video on that. People don't know, it's David Goggins, Navy SEAL. It says challenge. You run 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours. So I'm thinking about doing that. And then a good friend of the podcast, Dara, did the Barrow Way last year. He sent us a link this week about a 24-hour race in August in Waterford, where it's just a 1 mile loop over and over. So I'm toying with that. So I think I'm getting more into the long distance stuff. Doing the 5K plan, myself and Rachael will do a podcast on this one soon, has not gone well for me. Anytime I go into the faster distance stuff, my body's like, yoo-hoo. Remember this old injury that you did when you were stupid years ago? You weren't going slow when you should have been. You should have been listening to Eric to slow down doing heart rate stuff. I'm back. So I've been pulling back a little bit on my runs, but trying to increase my heart rate in terms of on the bike and stuff like that to get closer to mimicking tempo runs, things like that. That's been going okay, but we'll see in 2 weeks how that really goes. Like I said, we'll talk more podcasts with that, Rachael, but I think I'll be talking about more long distance runs and just going through a lot of suffering over the next couple of months and building towards August with that.
Very good.
My plan is to do so long on runs that when it comes to a marathon, it's going to feel like a 10K.
That is a very good goal. That's a very good goal. When is the 4x48? I did say I'd do it with you, so I better actually.
So it's going to be March 4th, 5th, that first weekend of March. So it's the weekend before the birthday. Because the weekend of the birthday, my girlfriend's sister's getting married. So I don't think I'd be able to pull away every 4 hours to go for a 4 mile run and come back to it. So I'll probably have a few different runs in around Kildare and stuff on that. So I'll be recruiting yourself. Rachael, you're out because you're a little bit away for distance. Yeah. I'm recruiting a few other people as well just to join me on a suffering for a couple of 4 mile runs. I have an idea now, but I'm looking forward to it. A weird way, really looking forward to it. I've definitely underestimated even though I'm talking about it means I haven't underestimated, but I will underestimate the sleep deprivation in terms of only getting a maximum of probably 2.5 hours nap before doing the next run and doing that for 2 days straight. That's probably going to be, I think it's going to be the biggest mental challenge in terms of, okay, the alarm goes off
I'll do it with you. I'll take the Monday off work.
Is that a commitment?
Have a fight when we're sleep deprived. Yeah, I told him I would. I told him I would. The nutrition coach is gonna do it with him to make sure he's doing it right. But
that's another thing though, the nutrition side of things.
Yeah, nutrition. Yeah, I suppose we could probably touch on that in a whole episode in itself of what's involved for different races and what we can be getting into. Obviously, everyone is different, but
you can't live on gels for you couldn't live on gels for 24 hours. Like you do need solid food.
Yeah.
48 hours.
That's where everyone is different. And we had Catherine on from Edible Evidence. She was talking about even a long race she did where one guy was eating early roast dinners every day. One guy was drinking milk all the time. And that was one we posted on the stories there. Everyone is different, but I suppose it's knowing what you need and then finding what suits you and your body. So so for the likes of Seán, chicken and broccoli, he'll eat that all night, but get him to drink a pint of milk, probably going to say no. So it's everyone is different, but once they're getting what the body is looking for at the right times, it's whatever suits the person. Everyone's going to be different. For me, the gels, I think I get about, particularly even on marathons, I'll get about an hour and then I'll start feeling weird on them. So for me, even in the longer distances, I'll have to look at what I need over the period of time and making sure I'm getting the right carbs, protein, salts back into me. So gels are good. They are good if you're just out for that day. It's going to be a 3-hour one just to get the energy in quick, nice and easy. But for longer races, nutrition has to be improved.
I think you have to experiment with it as well, because the gels, if you just take them a marathon day because you're in the expo the day before and they take these gels, you could have an accident or two along the way because your body's like, what is this in my system? Like, so I think you have to mess with it a little bit. We had Simon before on the podcast when he built up to 80K and everything else from there. He was saying you have to experiment with different sandwiches and just whole food when you get to those longer distances. But even marathons and whatever, I do think, don't try something new on race day because anything can and will happen. It's
an explosive turbo boost you're not looking for.
And on that bombshell. I think
me and Seán have seen it
in people's heads. We'll wrap up this week's episode of the Any Given Runday podcast. Rachel's like, please add something else to it. And normally I ask, but you know what, Rachael? I'm not even going to ask you anything else to add to the podcast. You're going to have to hold it till next week. No pun intended.
Okay, on that note, I'm gone.
That's it for myself, Rachael and Eric. Thank you very much for listening to this week's episode of the Any Given Runday podcast. From the three of us, take care.
Bye.
Bye.